Hello, everybody. Welcome to another series of Exposing Manosphere, where I'm interviewing former Red Pillars. And today I'm actually interviewing My Black Opinion, who actually has a YouTube channel, used to follow the Red Pill, but now he actually speaks out against it. And before I jump into the questions and also let my guest introduce himself, I want to say that after this interview, I'm going to take a short break from interviewing ex-Red Pillars to focus more on pre-recorded content. I haven't done some in a while, but I definitely will return to this series either in late March or early April. But other than that, I would just like my guest to introduce himself really quick.
Yo, what's good? My name is My Black Opinion. I have a YouTube channel, of course, on YouTube. And I make a lot of different content on a lot of different subjects. I see myself as more of an individualistic person. So I just speak my opinion on a lot of different trends, a lot of different thoughts that I have in my mind. And I have recently made a video, exposing the red pill for what it is. I guess in the future, I'm really trying to continue this ex-red pill movement and continue to kind of expose the red pill for what it truly is in the future. So we'll see what happens in the future, definitely.
Okay, so first question I ask all my guests is like, can you just tell me about yourself, like where you're from, where you grew up, etc. Just your background.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess as a child, I was kind of raised half and half. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. So I was kind of raised in the hood for half of my life and then raised in the suburbs for half of my life. So, I kind of got a taste of what it's like to live in both worlds, be part of both cultures and societies and things of that sort. I think I also really like making music a lot. But also at the same time, even though I make hip hop music, I have more of a right wing point of view, just in general. So even with that, I kind of live the best of both worlds because I have like two different Facebook accounts. One is like full of like super right wing people, not like alt right or anything, but like people who are more conservative, Christian and everything like that. And then I have another Facebook full of like super left wing people. So it's cool. Like I'm able to kind of experience and see different people from two different points of views and be exposed to those people. And so I think the special thing about that is that, I don't really have any bias because I see everybody as human beings instead of this kind of monolith or this kind of, you're right wing, so you act a certain type of way and you're not a human, or you're left wing, so you act a certain type of way and you're not a human. You know what I mean? There's a lot of dehumanizing going on in 2020 and 2021, and being a part of that, I think, is really just a gift in itself. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay. No, I agree with you. I was politically, I'm on the left, but I know in this space that's like seen as evil.
Oh yeah, I know. It's crazy. It really is.
Okay. Well, I'm curious. Wait, how old are you?
I'm 24 currently.
Oh, okay. Okay, not bad. So, yeah, my next question is, how did you find the red pill?
Man, like, I guess even being right wing and growing up in more of a traditional type of way, we do have more of a concept of masculinity just in general. I think because of that and because of that concept, I always thought that I really wanted to increase my masculinity or try to express my masculinity in the most optimal way possible. You know what I mean? I really want to learn a lot more about manhood. I really want to learn about how I could be optimal as a man. I know that more left-wing people more focus on being yourself and expressing yourself in your own type of way, but more right-wing does primarily focus on feminine and masculine energy. In my humble opinion, you could say that I'm wrong. I don't know. But in that kind of case, I really wanted to become the best version that I can as a man. So, I would kind of look online about how I could do that. But also during that time, again, and this is how a lot of people join the red pill, I was kind of struggling with this girl that I was talking to. And during that time, I guess she kind of used me for like attention or something, because we would hang out all the time. You know what I mean? We would go on these like little dates or whatever. And then one time she just kind of stood me up for for no reason. Like she was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming," and then she didn't come or whatever. And I was getting kind of frustrated because it turns out she had a boyfriend the entire time, and I'm just like, that's some crazy, that's some craziness, man. That's some craziness. So, you know, I would search up online, like what is going on? Like, why did this happen to me? Like, why? Obviously it happened because she was just ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
An immoral type of person. But, you know, I would wonder, why exactly did that happen? And from me asking a lot of these questions, like, why did I get flaked on, or why am I going through these type of issues? It kind of brought me to this weird kind of rabbit hole of the red pill, you know, just in general. It just kind of started off with kind of frustrations with like little things that women would do, and also a combination of me trying to figure out how I could be optimal as a man, just in general. So that's kind of a small taste of it.
Okay, when did this happen? Like, how old were you?
I was probably around 19, so probably, you know, around 2015, 2016. I was kind of starting to get into that mindset, you know what I mean? Considering I was raised in the suburbs too, I was kind of raised in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? I got a car at like 20 or something. So
Mhm.
I wasn't really exposed to a lot of different people just in general. You know what I mean? And when you're always in the house and you don't have a car and Uber doesn't exist yet, you know what I mean? Like you don't really, you're not exposed to a lot of different people, so it's a lot easier to kind of build a bias when it comes to how people act or people behave, because you don't really expose yourself to those people. So, you know, I think it's really important. I made a video too about my most important advice to a lot of different people is to go outside, because the more that you stay inside, the more that you expose yourself to a lot of toxic type of beliefs and toxic type of ideologies and stuff like that. So um, that's kind of my opinion, and that's kind of how it started.
Okay, that's interesting. You did say, I mean, you did mention something about like the conservative being masculine, and I could have gone on like a long rant, but I'll become this boring history teacher if I
Yeah.
went on if I went on like the correlation between liberalism and masculinity. There's a book on this that I had to read for a colloquium, but I don't want to get off topic about that. So it's interesting. So the way you found it is how a lot of people in the space find it. They go through like some kind of romantic difficulty, and then they Google something and they come across like this space. So this is 2015. So what did you come across when you were trying to find answers?
Um, I think it was a combination of a lot of different things. I think it was just a lot of frustration, and I would kind of find the answers, but it was more kind of like venting.
Hmm.
Like like a lot of venting, like a lot of like, why do women do this? Like why do women act this type of way? And for some reason, like technically I could kind of find the answers for that, but another part of me kind of didn't really want to find the answers. Like a part of me just kind of wanted to like be like, like just have a place where like I could feel like people understand my situation, or people understand kind of the plights of the frustrations that men go through. And I feel like there's not too many spaces where men could really kind of express that in certain
Hmm.
cases. And I think it's really important to really kind of build an avenue and build a kind of, not necessarily movement, but just a space that is healthy, that men could really express the things that they have to go through just in general. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's interesting. That's actually something a lot of people talk about. Like I said, I don't endorse the red pill because it's a rabbit hole, but some people said like men do need to go to some space where they can have like a healthy dialogue. But
Yeah.
and I know the red pill, in my opinion, is not the perfect
Yeah.
substitute. And I think it's something that could come along down the future, but I mean we'll have to see what happens. It's kind of interesting you said about the whole vent thing, because one criticism I and other people have of the whole red pill is that a lot of people use social media as therapy.
Mm,
I was kind of curious, what do you like think about that? Like people get on here, they just talk about deeply personal issues with people who just validate them.
yeah, definitely. Um, I think you know, a lot of people use that as therapy. I kind of did that. That's kind of how I started my YouTube channel. Like, you know, to be honest, just speaking my thoughts, because to be honest, I felt like I didn't really have a place to really express what I really wanted to express. Like, there were times, like even as a kid, like I kind of wanted to try therapy, so I went there for a little bit, and I just didn't really feel like I got the outcome that I really wanted just in general. So when you feel like you don't really have people to go to, or when you feel like you don't have people who are willing to really listen to your point of view, it's kind of easy to really do that type of thing. But I think it's good to try to vent. I think venting is good, but I think it's important to do it in a healthy type of way. And when you make videos online, you have to keep in mind that you are influencing other people and other people's points of views and other people's thoughts just in general. So your actions do have consequences. So when you try to vent a lot of toxic things, people are listening. Like kids are listening. Like people of all different walks of life are listening. Like one thing that really um inspired me to really do this interview too was there was actually a YouTuber who committed suicide, who
Renegade, right?
yeah, who was part of the Black Pill movement and everything like that. And like I realized that this type of stuff could really have a really negative effect on people, and I don't really want that kind of thing to continue. I don't want that kind of thing to happen, and I really want people to really wake up and see life for what it truly is, instead of, you know, this consistent red pill or black pill type of, you know, ideology. Not because I'm trying to prove people wrong, but because this could have very serious like implications on people's lives. So that's kind of what I want to say.
I definitely agree with you. It reminds me of a YouTuber. I don't know. Have you ever heard of what is it, Kent TV?
Ken TV.
Short
Oh
dude with a hair, talk about rejection.
no, what is he about?
So he pretty much would just go on these long, repetitive rants about rejection. He said he just approach women, he'll give him like the wrong number or just reject him, and he would just vent just continuously. And he said that's what he used YouTube for, but he didn't realize that, you know, this actually has like some kind of impact on him in the long run. You know, people recognize his face, and people, of course, listening, and it does create this like echo chamber of people all sharing the same grievances, but not searching for any type of palatable solutions.
Right, exactly. I feel that. I definitely feel that. And you know, I think it's good to vent. Maybe not on YouTube, but I think it's good to vent, get through that type of, you know, pain, but you need to eventually like you know, stand up. Like you need to eventually like get to a point where you're just like, okay, I'm going through this. What can I do to change that? What can I do to get better? What can I do to progress? You know what I mean? Because when I was a kid, I used to be a very shy individual. I used to be a very quiet individual. I didn't have social skills. Like I didn't, you know what I mean? So, you know, as I got older, I learned how to do that. And, you know, back in 2015, I wasn't the most, you know, charismatic individual ever, but, you know, I learned to, you know, build those skills to become a person who is confident and become a person who is a better person. That's one thing that that's why I feel like, while I disagree, I think that there's kind of hierarchies. Like I feel like with MGTOW, like I have the least amount of respect for MGTOW out of all the Manosphere, because they're kind of on level one. They're still venting. The red
Hmm.
pill guys, the red pill guys, they're still toxic, but at least they're trying to like do something. But overarchingly, one thing I just don't respect about especially MGTOW is that they complain, but they don't make no change. And why this is why I respect feminists more than I respect MGTOW, because even though like I kind of disagree with feminism, at least they're doing something. At least they're going out and they're, you know, going ahead and trying to change laws. They're trying to go ahead and try to do something. Well, personally, in my humble opinion, I disagree, and everybody has a right to their opinions and everything like that. At least they're doing something. You know, with MGTOW, they're just on the internet, and it's sad because, you know, we're supposed to take change. At least, you know, in my humble, if you think of masculine stereotypes, we're supposed to be the ones who are the go-getters. We're supposed to be the ones who are supposed to really make a change. So I'm surprised that these men are so weak that they would complain on the internet, but they're not going to the state house. They're not trying to change no laws. They're not trying to do anything. You know what I mean? And one thing that a lot of MGTOWs talk about too is marriage, or you know, marriage with the state. And this is why I think that is kind of a cult-like type of thing, because, you know, I keep on saying that you don't necessarily need to get married through the state. You know what I mean? You could legitimately have a spiritual ceremony. You should be all good. But that's kind of getting off topic. You know what I mean? Let's try to stay on topic.
It's okay. I mean, I always get MGTOWs in my comic section, and they just troll me. Like anybody who says anything about MGTOW, they'll just flood to your channel with troll comments.
Delete, dislike all your videos, like that does anything. It just makes you more sorry, to be honest. It really does.
So I'm curious. So who did you mostly follow when you were in the Red Pill?
Wow, I've been following the Red Pill for a little bit. So, I guess, yeah, it started off with like Sandman, I guess. So I was probably more mid, you know what I mean? I mean, I know there's people who started in like 2007. I didn't even know the Red Pill was in 2007 or like.
It didn't exist at the time.
Oh, I see. Well, it was kind of like I was kind of mid. So I started with like Sandman and stuff like that. I guess Darius M or whatever, freaking
Darius MGTOW.
Yeah, freaking Donovan Sharp, 33 Secrets, like a lot of different people like that, you know what I mean? But bruh, like even like this was before I started my YouTube channel. But as like I made my when I started my YouTube channel, I felt like I was a little bit more independent when it came to thought. You know what I mean? I was a little bit more independent when it came to that. And I was starting to see a lot of the hypocrisy of what a lot of these people were saying. Because, you know, I would call up to their show, especially when I had like my YouTube account, because I was starting to question a lot of different things. And, you know, I would call up to their show and be like, you know, I have a little bit of a different opinion. I don't really think that's the case. And they would just try to lambaste me or like be like, and this is why I feel like it's more of a cult type of, I don't think they're a cult, but they have cult type of things that they do. Like, if you have any different opinion, and this is what Kevin Samuels does too. Like, if you have any opinion that goes against their ideology or any opinion that goes against what they want to say, they either kick you off their show, they try to get their followers to, you know, try to lambaste you in the comment section, act like you're a joke, act like you're this, act like you're that. I even talked to Joy Isabel because I was on Donovan Sharp's show when she was talking. And, you know, we had a little small conversation, and I was just like, I kind of agree with what you're saying. Like, I hit her up on Instagram or whatever, and I'm just like, dude, I kind of agree with what you're saying. And like, Donovan's just like, oh, you're this or you're that or you're for the streets and everything. And I'm looking on her Instagram and she has a full blown boyfriend. I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like, these people are so freaking ridiculous, yo. So ridiculous. So
yeah, you know, it's interesting when you said it's cult like. I wouldn't call it a cult because it doesn't really have like a charismatic leader.
Yeah,
on top. That's one key aspect it missed, but it is very cult like, whereas dissent is literally just squashed.
Yeah.
And I had, so when I wrote an article on the Black Manosphere in particular in 2020, I had a young man who emailed me. He said the same exact thing. He's like, yeah, whenever you disagree, they would literally just like ban you from your channels. And when I was following the group, I had a kind of like a fake account that I would use just to get information from people.
Yeah.
And I could say one minor disagreement in a respectful fashion to get banned.
Exactly. And here's the thing too. Here's the thing too. With cults, they kind of label you a certain type of way when you disagree or when you have a different type of mindset. You know what I mean? So they call it red pill. And if you don't agree with the red pill, then you're blue pill, or you're blue pill, or you're the enemy, or you're less than somebody else. You know what I mean? Or you're less than, you just don't understand the knowledge. You don't understand. You know what I mean? So they have these type of ideologies. If you follow the ideology to a T, you're an alpha. If you don't follow this, then you're a beta. If you want a wife and children, and if you don't want to, sleep around with all these women, then you're just a beta. You're just a beta male simp. You know what I mean? So, a lot of cults have these shaming type of tactics, shaming type of words that they use for, when you disagree with their ideology or their quote unquote indoctrination. And, I think it's good to be aware of, certain things that go on in the dating market, but to completely call somebody a beta simp or, type of thing just because, to be honest, you kind of just want a relationship, or you just want a girl and you don't want to sleep around and you don't want to be in these streets, and you know what I mean? Like, I think that's just really toxic as well. So, yeah, that's kind of what I have to say.
Out of here, so on your YouTube channel, you already said what motivated you to make a YouTube channel, but you have talked about a multitude of different topics. Have you ever received pushback for your content?
Oh yeah, so I did make a video on MGTOW, but I think everybody gets pushback when they make a video on MGTOW. Like, everybody. You know what I mean? So I made a video on MGTOW and the MGTOW movement and everything like that. And it did start a little bit of a controversy in the Manosphere or red pill realm or whatever. And the weird thing is, on that video, when I got pushed back, it's almost, and this is what I mean by cult. Obviously, they're not a cult. They're not a legitimate cult, but, kind of cult type of things that happen. I would say things in the video, and it almost seemed like they didn't hear what I was saying. Like, it's almost like they didn't hear what I was saying, because, like, I'm just like, I understand about marriage and how, officially it could ruin your life if you get all of your money taken away from you. But, you could probably just have a little ceremony, a little spiritual ceremony with the girl who you plan to be with, make your own type of deal and make your own type of bet, and just, you don't need to really have to go with the state, but you can still get married, in my humble opinion. A lot of different, like, back in the day, people used to jump the broom and they were married. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of an extreme, example. But to be honest, nobody is telling you that you have to get married on the terms of the government. You know what I mean? And if I get married, I probably want to do it the same way. Just, have a spiritual ceremony and really make a vow to really be with somebody for as long as I can. So, I talked about that in the video, but they still were talking about, well, what if you get divorced? Well, I don't want to say the R word, but, what if you get divorced and your life gets destroyed? And I legitimately said, you don't need to do that. You know what I mean? So people would watch my videos, dislike my videos, do all that kind of jazz, but it almost seems cult-like because they have no recollection of listening, of being an adult, and listening to other people's point of views. And I'm getting to that point too, where I'm starting to grow up and I'm starting to branch out and I'm starting to listen to the point of views of other people. I want to go ahead and talk to leftists. I want to talk to feminists. I want to talk to a lot of different people, because we are, especially in the United States, especially in the United States in 2020 and 2021, ain't nobody want to listen to nobody. No, nobody wants to listen to nobody. But I do. I do. I want to hear the feminists and what they have to say. And I want to hear the leftists and what they have to say. And again, I'm part of more of a right-wing type of mindset. You know what I mean? And what I realize when I see these people on the right too is that they're doing the same thing. Like, so instead of, well, obviously I made a video about how I don't agree with Black Lives Matter, but I want to talk to the leader of Black Lives Matter. I don't want to just lambast the leader of Black Lives Matter and have people validate me and do all this. My entire YouTube channel wasn't even for validation. It was because I wanted to free my thoughts and do what I want to do. But the difference between me and, Brandon Tatum and all these different people is that I want to talk to the leader of Black Lives Matter. I want to talk to the leader of all of these, different leftist organizations, and yet we disagree. I want to be able to build, and I want to be able to grow, because, smart people have a lot of knowledge, but smarter people know that they don't know everything. And so, that's what I'm really trying to do. I'm trying to grow intellectually and realize that I'm not perfect and I don't know anything. And that's really going to propel me to be even more knowledgeable than a lot of different people in the future. So that's kind of what I have to say.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of learned gradually that you can't really argue with people on the internet. I mean, I made videos where I'll present a lot of like factual data, historical data. People still overlook it, or they hear it, but they don't really comprehend it. And they just it just shows that they didn't even take the time to listen.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of sad that we don't really have, I'm not saying that we don't have, but it almost seems like we don't really have people with individualistic thoughts. People aren't really speaking their thoughts, but they're speaking the thoughts of the people who speak through them. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about different leaders who speak through them, or different ideologies that they regurgitate without thinking about the actual things that they are saying. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's really important, especially on my channel. I really try to address that it's important to be an individual and have individual thought with the things that you were trying to do and the things that you're trying to say. So
it's interesting you say that. So, the red pill kind of like purports itself as just like being, I guess, superior in knowledge and thinking. But at the same time, everybody's kind of just regurgitating talking points they've heard. And I also kind of wonder, how do they balance that?
Yeah,
trying to be better than the rest of society when everybody's literally just like repeating one another.
Right, exactly. And they're going out and they're calling everybody else sheep, but you're following you're following an ideology. You know what I mean? So for me personally, I think my type of mindset is that I always want to wear my own jersey. Like, I never really want to wear a Tom Brady jersey. I don't want to wear a Patriots jersey. I want to wear my own jersey. You know what I mean? So I really want to get to a point where I could think of things analytically and be able to look at a situation and think deeply about that situation and say, hey, does this make sense or does this not make sense? You know what I mean? So instead of calling everybody else sheep, if you're trying to follow an ideology and all that, make sure that you're a leader of your own thoughts and the leader of your own mindset first before you call everybody else a sheep. You know what I mean? That's kind of.
That leads me to another question I have. I noticed on your channel, you really talk about a lot of different topics about the red pill. Like, you critique the game argument, whether it's necessary or not. The whole idea that all women are promiscuous. I just want you kind of to elaborate on that. So, kind of people in my audience haven't heard your videos.
Yeah, definitely. Personally, I just don't. It's just that there's a lot of videos on game on YouTube, but it's just that I have a lot of friends who are in relationships who ain't know nothing about the red pill at all. They don't know anything about the red pill. You know, my dad married my mom. He knew nothing about the red pill. He knew nothing about game, but he's been in a relationship with my mom and married to my mom for like 30 years. You know what I mean? And, you know, I just think that you don't really need all these tactics. Like, for example, you know, when I was in high school, again, I had no game. Like, I was a super shy, no confidence whatsoever individual. You know what I mean? And I had a high school crush when I was in high school and everything like that. And despite me having game, like, I was stupid nervous. But I went up to her and I was just like, hello, hello, do you want to, like, I don't know, like, hang out sometime or whatever? Like, you want to do this? And believe it or not, there's some girls who actually like shy guys, which is kind of weird. But you know, I didn't really have that much confidence or anything. I knew nothing about game whatsoever. But you know, I actually went on a few dates with my high school crush, and we went out and everything with my high school crush. I realized that we didn't really have much in common or whatever, so it didn't really continue or whatever, but she legitimately could have been my girlfriend. Like, I could have legitimately had a relationship with her. Like, we could have probably started a family, and we could have done all that kind of jazz. And I knew nothing about the red pill. I knew nothing about anything like that. But you know, I just did what I needed to do, went up to her, grew some balls, and approached. And I wasn't the greatest at approaching, but you know, I still managed to get the girl that I wanted. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I think. I just don't really think it's a requirement to have game and, you know, you don't need to do up, up, down, down, A, B, left analog stick, right analog.
Like an Xbox or something, PS, whatever.
Get a girl. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's pretty much what I was saying. So that video was on game. What was the other video that you were talking about?
I said game, and there was another video where you talked about. Oh no, I'm blanking on it. Oh boy. Hey, cause you did talk about a lot of topics. So there was game, and then there was oh yeah, women being promiscuous. Cause you know the red pill often argues that like all women are quote unquote hoes, and that it's necessary for men to like rack up a 50+ body count just to compete.
That's crazy. All right. So with that video in particular, we speak English. I'll tell you this. All right. I was kind of confused on that. You know what I mean? Because to be honest, I mean, my high school crush was, well, in my belief, a really good girl. Like, she was a really good girl. Like, number one, she didn't have a smartphone. She didn't even have a flip phone. She didn't even have a phone. Okay? She didn't have a phone. So I had to call up her parents' house to actually get her out on these dates and everything like that. For me, I think my morality is like in between. You know what I mean? So if I cursed or whatever, she would be like kind of pissed, like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you know what I mean? So in my humble opinion, okay, maybe I'm lying, but I don't really think that she would have a high body count. Like, that's one thing. The person who I'm not trying to get too specific, but the person who I kind of lost my thing to, was a virgin. So that's one thing. And I was like 19, 20 years old during that. Like, I was kind of late. Jeez. I was kind of late, but I was kind of shy at the same time.
No, 19, not that. I mean, the average is like 17, so that's not really abnormal.
Exactly. So, you know, the person I lost it to was a virgin too. She didn't even tell me, but I had to like find out. I'm not trying to get too into detail about that, but you know,
just try to keep some stuff
private. Yeah. So, you know, so I'm just like, all right, I'm 19, 20 at this time. This girl is almost 20, still a virgin. I get into my first relationship, and my first girlfriend, like my first official girlfriend, was also a virgin. So I'm thinking, like, number one, from life experience, you can't claim that all these girls are for the streets. When in my personal experience, you know, I've dealt with a lot of really good girls. I've been in relationships with very great women. just in general. So that's personal experience. That's from my personal experience. But you can't really base everything off of your personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would go online, and I went to a lot of different websites, a lot of different official publications, and I found out that 1 in 8 people in their mid-20s are virgins. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at my life experience, but I'm also looking at statistics and everything like that. So keep in mind, I looked at my personal experience, and I also looked at statistics about, promiscuity. I also seen a lot of different articles talking about how we're going through a sex recession in 2020 and 2021, and we're having a lot less of it than past generations, primarily probably because the economy is kind of trash. You know what I mean? COVID-19 is kind of trash. You know what I mean? A lot of different scenarios going on. And last but not least, I kind of looked at a lot of different polls online from a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life. So, from those polls, from what I've seen, maybe some people are lying, maybe some people are telling the truth, but I've seen the average person, probably their body count being probably around like 1 to 7.
7 is the average, actually.
Yeah, like 1 to 7 or something like that. So I'm looking at a lot of different people from a lot of different polls from a lot of different websites and things of that sort. And so, for me personally, I'm not just trying to, go ahead and be like, well, from my experience, this is what you know what I mean? I'm trying to look at polls. I'm trying to look at statistics. I'm trying to look at articles. I'm trying to look at my life experience and build that up to make a conclusion of what I want to say, not just, oh, this red pill person told me that this, you know what I mean? And I looked at Donovan Sharp's show, and he was just like, well, the reason I know that all women are promiscuous. Do you know anybody in their 20s who aren't? I'm just like, can you give me some stats? You're just speaking out of your butt at this point. You know what I mean? You can't just say that, bruh, thousands of people are watching your show. Thousands of people are watching your show. Do you know how diluted you can make people's mentalities from saying that kind of thing? So for me, I guess the difference between me and him is that I use personal experience. I feel like personally, I'm on a higher frequency morally. I'm not the most moral person ever, but at least what I try to do is try to get into relationships and surround myself with women who are good women. You know what I mean? Not women who are in Vegas, not women who, are at the club, nothing against people who go to the club or whatever. But I realize that a lot of these red pill content creators, they're not living on a high frequency. You know what I mean? They aren't good people. They confess going to Vegas and surrounding themselves with women who are low frequency. So obviously you're going to build a point of view. And this is what separates me from them, is even though I have a point of view from being with good women, I still want to do my research. And I still want to look at polls, look at articles, and look at what the reality actually is. So that's kind of why I make a lot of those, those videos, just clearing up the truth about how promiscuous this world actually is.
Yeah, so when I used to observe this group, I actually watched a lot of Donovan Sharp, and he always struck me. I'll be honest, he struck me as an oddball. But one of my major criticism is that a lot of his views came from living in Las Vegas. And I just think that you could take a tourist town and try to portray that as representative of the rest of the country.
Right.
I mean, especially just going in and out. And everybody knows Vegas is like a party city, but I was like, it doesn't dictate sexual norms. And for most Americans who on average live in towns of 100,000 people.
Yeah, exactly. And if you go to, it really depends on where you're finding these women. You know what I mean? It really depends on the areas that you hang out, the culture of the people who you plan to surround yourself with, just in general. You know what I mean? Because again, I have access to, more right-wing people, more conservative people, and I have access to more, out there, left, super left-wing people, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And I see the difference of culture. I see the difference of people just in general. So you can't just claim that everybody is doing that kind of thing. It really just depends on the culture that you plan to surround yourself with, the people who you plan to surround yourself with, and the people who you plan to embrace in your life. And this is one thing too. I guess the Black Manosphere also talks about, or just the Manosphere in general talks about like Black women or Black women being like terrible. Well, I've met some really good, cool Black women. But also I think about it like this. Let's say 99% of Black women are argumentative or are this or are that. My thing is this. I'm looking for one woman. All right? Like either you can't lose in that situation. Either A, you're looking to hook up. All right? And if you're looking to hook up, that shouldn't really matter to you, you know, just in general. Or B, you're looking for a relationship. And if you're looking for a relationship, you're not looking to date 99% of Black women. You're looking for one. So it doesn't matter if all of these people have an attitude. What matters is that you find the one that is good for you, just in general. So in my humble opinion, I could even care less if Black women have a crazy attitude, because I'm just looking for one person who I could vibe with, not every single person in general. But despite that, I don't really want to get off topic. With Black women, it's just I've met so many great Black women. I mean, my mom's a Black woman, you know what I mean? And she's an amazing person. I also want to kind of get into single motherhood too. And
yeah, we can.
Yeah. I am friends with a single mother and everything. And I made a video about single mothers. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've seen it, but
I watched it, and it was somewhat similar to the video I made. I mean, mine is the huge historical aspect of it that I go into.
Yeah, definitely. So with the single mother thing, bruh, I don't endorse, you know, getting into a relationship with a single mother, just in general. But one of my family friends actually got into a relationship with a single mother, and he's happy. You know what I mean? So I think it really all depends. It really all depends on what you value, what you don't value. You know what I mean? For me personally, I don't really value that, just in general. And I think that people are so different. People are so different. You know what I mean? Just in general. Some people care about a woman's past. Some people do not. Some women have a past and won't cheat on you. Some women do not have a past and will cheat on you. Like, there are, like, I'll tell you this. There could be a woman who has not slept with anybody, right? And she regrets that she did not sleep with anybody and go into a situation because she regrets not doing that. Like, people are so different and people value different things. And so I'm not endorsing to be in a relationship with a single mother, but I'm not going to go out here and say that every single woman who is a single mother is Satan and every single person who's a single mother is trash or, you know, they're terrible. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say that. You know what I mean? I think it's very important to humanize people and humanize people's behavior. And I think it's very important to really see people for who they are and human beings, just in general. You know what I mean? And so last but not least, when it comes to the single mother thing, I don't really think that it is a hindrance to have a child. I'm not going to lie that it's going to make your life easier. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to go that far. You know what I mean? But I don't necessarily think that you're going to, quote unquote, die alone if you have a child. You know what I mean? I don't really think that's the case. And I don't really think that every single mother is the worst person ever. Some women just legitimately made a mistake. Like the single mother that I'm friends with, she was in a relationship. She was in a full-blown relationship. And this man This man dipped. They were taking pictures with their kid, literally taking pictures with this kid, and the man just dipped. So you know, you gotta really not look at things so black and white. You gotta stop looking at things so black and white. And it's kind of weird too that they also see single fathers as like this, you know, oh, you're honorable if you're, I wouldn't say you're honorable, but you're kind of more looked at in a better light if you're a single father than a single mother, which is really interesting. I don't know if you see that, but it almost seems that way.
I don't come across a lot of videos of them talking about single fathers, but I have came across a lot of videos of them admitting to accidentally impregnating women, but the woman had an abortion either by their choice or because they encouraged them to do so. Like King Richie, who said he encouraged 3 women he impregnated to all have abortions.
Yeah, and that gets into some juicy content because I remember you made a video on this, but I also talked about this in my in my red pill cult video. How are you? All right, this is what I think. If you have the mentality that women should be liberated and that they should sleep with whoever they want, and then you go out and you start sleeping around and everything, all right, that is your mentality. Your mentality is that women are completely normal if they sleep around, if they want to make that decision. Okay, cool. If you want to embrace that type of lifestyle, cool. But you can't go out and sleep around with everybody and then call all these women hoes and all these women promiscuous when you're causing it. And then you're claiming, oh, how are we going to help the next generation of men? How about you stop doing it? Maybe that might help the next generation of men if you have this type of right-wing mentality that you know women are ruined if they sleep around. Why would you sleep around and then ruin it for the next generation of men if that's your mentality? You know what I mean? That doesn't make any type of sense whatsoever. You can't be a hypocrite and then sleep around with all of these women and then claim that all of these women are hoed out. You can't do that. You can't do that. Like, you can't have this. You can't look down on women, yet you're doing the same exact thing. Now, if you have more of a different mentality of saying, I want everybody to be free and I want everybody to sleep around, and I think it's beautiful that women sleep around, that's a different story. But you have this patriarchal right-wing mindset that women should not sleep around and that they should keep themselves like chaste. If you're gonna have that mentality, you can't do that. Like, you can't do that. That you're being a hypocrite. But you can't do that, dude. That's just my kind of mentality, just in general.
Yeah, it's I mean, a lot of it just rooted in the Madonna whore complex, which was coined by Sigmund Freud. So all men. So when men settle down, they want like this chaste virgin, but when they're like out and about, they just want to use access to this promiscuous women, and that's something that kind of was hard for me to even comprehend when I came across this space. I'm like, wait, they tell women to settle down in their early 20s, but then tell men to sleep around as much as you can until you're 35. And then once you're 35, we'll get a woman who's like around early 20s.
Yeah, which is kind of strange because that sounds exactly like the same ideology that they hate, which is feminism. Like, go ahead and sleep around, and then when you're 35, then you find a good quote unquote beta male. Like it's crazy. Find yourself a good man. Like, it's literally the same thing. It's literally the same thing. And so, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I just think it's crazy. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
I mean, you could literally spend hours talking about like the hypocrisy in the group. Like one thing I noticed recently was like kind of like castigate women for living quote unquote Sex in the City lifestyle, but then encourage it for men to do it. I mean, just I don't know if you know about those Sex in the City. I never watched the show, but it pretty much means like women living into like their almost middle age and still single.
Yeah, definitely. And playing off that too, it's that one thing that I realized is I kind of talked about I got into a situation where I kind of talked about my past a little bit to certain different women and everything. And this is what I mean by everybody is different. I talked about my past with 3 different women, and I got 3 different responses. You know what I mean? I got 3 different responses. You know what I mean? Like, one girl was just like, tell me more. And then another girl was just like, oh my gosh, like, what? Are you serious? Like, get away from me. And then another one was just like, you're an amateur. Like,
Oh,
yeah. So I'm like, so what is it? Does every girl like a player, or does every girl like and also I really want to get into this too about alpha males and beta males, right? See, one of the most like influential groups that all the girls are chasing after in 2021 is a group called BTS. I don't know if you heard of BTS or whatever.
BTS.
It's a Korean boy band group or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So these men in BTS have no masculine type of attributes whatsoever. Yet they are the most sought after group on the planet when it comes to women. Like all of these, and also if you think about in the 1980s, how like androgynous dudes were back then, like it's crazy. So, you know, I know guys who are in relationships who do not have that stereotypical, you know, masculine type of you know, persona. I know dudes who look like absolute dweebs who are out here, you know what I mean? Who are out here. And so the world is very complex. I don't really necessarily believe in this alpha beta dichotomy. In fact, the study based off of alpha male wolves was debunked just in general. You guys could do a little bit of research and look at the study that has to do with alpha male wolves that brought up this entire alpha male thing was debunked by the person who made the study. So I think that everybody has a different type of mindset. I don't even know what I am. I don't know if I'm an alpha, if I'm a beta, but one thing that I do know is that I still have a lot of, because I'm a musician, I get a lot of different women who are in my DMs, and I'm not super ripped. I don't have a 6-pack. I don't have any of that. So it really just depends. Like women are attracted to a lot of different things. That's pretty much what I kind of want to say. Women are attracted to a lot of different things. So I think we are a lot more complex than just alpha and beta. We are who we are. We are individuals. And men are attracted to different things. Women are attracted to different things. And I feel like that's just the reality of things.
Yeah, and human social hierarchies are so fluid that a very rigid dichotomy of alpha beta can't really use it to quantify it. So, you know, even if you want to like narrow it down to relationships, a guy can be good with women in one social location, but then they can travel to another social location and just fail.
Yeah, exactly. That was me. Believe it or not, that was me. I think that was kind of me in college because I was still a little bit shy in college. Like I still got some success, but I was really shy in college. But I went off to trade school because I wasn't really feeling college. And at my trade school, like everybody liked me. Like everybody liked me at my trade school, but nobody liked me. Well, there were certain girls who did like me at my college too, but I kind of ignored them. I don't know why. Like they were actually pretty cute, but
That's life.
I kind of ignored them. But like I didn't really have that much success like in college. But when I got to trade school, like I got a lot more women who were really feeling me, which is true. So sometimes you gotta really just change locations. And the crazy thing is too, a lot of these people who watch these videos and a lot of these people who claim, oh, women will never like me, women just like Chad. I've been talking to some of these men and I'm just like, so when have you ever approached a woman? Like when have you asked women out and they're just like, oh, wow, like I didn't ask any. I'm just like, why don't you ask women out? Because there may be women who like you. And a lot of these people in these subsects, especially like the nerdy, more introverted dudes, they want women who have nothing to do with them. Like you could go out and get yourself a girl. Like if you like Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you like freaking Pokemon and Pokemon cards, maybe Brittany, the cheerleader, it probably ain't gonna relate. All right. Maybe she's not really gonna feel you, but you could find a girl who you are so much more happier with, so much more compatible with, who does like Yu-Gi-Oh, who does like Pokemon, who does like Pokemon cards. And I think a lot of people have this kind of weird type of I need to get her, like I need to get the cheerleader girl, and they kind of ignore it. I guess I kind of did that too. But like they kind of ignore the women who are really good for them, bruh. And so there are a lot of women who you can get, you know what I mean? Especially these nerdy dudes. You can still get them. You just need to find the women who are really compatible with you. And there are some pretty hot girls who still play Yu-Gi-Oh! And still play Pokemon. That's all I'm saying. You can still get them, but you just gotta find a girl who's really just compatible for you, you know?
Somebody said, what about Digimon? That's kind of making me nostalgia, actually. Yeah, so I'm curious. So when did you start when did you go through distance yourself from the red pill and started seeing it as problematic?
I started I kind of did it when I just started seeing the hypocrisy. You know what I mean? The more that I watched Donovan Sharp's show,
No.
I'm not. Gosh, I might start a flame war or something. Jeez, but I wanted to look at people's outcomes. You know what I mean? People's outcomes. You know what I mean? See, Donovan Sharp, well, I don't like mentioning names, but I'll just say it. You know what I mean? Donovan Sharp, he literally talked about how he's all successful with women and all this and all that, and how you shouldn't date girls who are for the streets and you shouldn't date girls over 30. Man, okay. This might, wow, I'm not, should I say this? I should probably just say this. But the woman that you're with,
oh, I know what you're about to say. I know exactly what you're about to say.
Let's just say I had no game in high school, but I've dated women who are younger and more beautiful than the majority of these red pill people who claim that you need all this game, you need to do all this, you need to do all that. So I'm looking at the outcomes of a lot of these people, and I'm just like, so this is what I get for joining the red pill? This is what I get? Like, this is what I get. This is what you said that I deserve. You know what I mean? I'm looking at the outcome. I'm looking at the outcomes.
I know there's people in the chat probably don't know what he's talking about. So I think like a few months ago, Donovan Sharp's girlfriend face was revealed because she accidentally walked in front of the camera. And okay, I don't like commenting on people's look, but I'll just say people who saw the video did not consider her to be attractive at all. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to say what I thought about her, but that's what they thought.
Yeah. So I'm looking not just at that, but I'm looking at the happiness, and I'm looking at the how happy these people actually seem. You know what I mean? How happy these people actually appear to be. And a lot of these people in the red pill don't seem happy. They do not seem happy at all. You know what I mean? They seem angry. They seem bitter. They seem resentful. And I don't really want to, if I really want to be happy, I don't want to learn from Scar. I want to learn from Mufasa. You know what I mean? And so I'm looking at like YouTubers on YouTube, like there's like YouTuber couples and stuff. Obviously that could be all fake and everything, and they could be arguing. But I'm looking at like Ethan and Gila, and I'm looking at like Slice and Rice. I'm looking at all of these people who seem just so happy in their relationships. And I'm thinking subconsciously, maybe I should talk to them. Like, maybe I should learn from them. Maybe I should learn from people who are really actually happy in their lives and really happy in their relationships, because I see these people who don't know nothing about the red pill, but they're still happy and they're the best of friends. You know what I mean? So I really just looked at the outcome and what these people seem like, and I looked at them and I said, do I want to be like these people? Do I want to be so bitter? Do I want to be so frustrated? And I said, no, I don't. I don't. I don't want to have hatred in my heart. I don't want to have bitterness in my heart. There were times where I was used, but I got to get over that. And I got to really embrace and understand that I want to be happy in life. Like, I want to be happy. And controlling my girlfriend, that doesn't sound like happiness. That sounds like a babysitter. So I don't want to live that type of life. And that's one thing that kind of opened my eyes. And I just don't want to have the same destiny of a lot of these content creators in the red pill.
I totally agree. And I was listening to your Expose the Red Pill quote video. You said that the red pill destroyed a lot of your relationships and made you despise women. So I'm just curious what happened.
I wouldn't say destroyed, but I would say this. I would say that, considering that the red pill claimed that all of these girls are for the streets and everything like that, right? It kind of made me lower my expectations. It made me lower my point of view and everything like that. Like, there would be girls that I would get along with, but I knew that they had these red flags or whatever. And so the red pill said, oh, these red flags are normal. These red flags are normal. You just got to train them to be the girl that you want them to be. You know what I mean? And so I said, okay, all these girls are for the streets. All these girls, this is just normal female behavior. And so I'm just like, all right, you know what? I'll probably date her or whatever and stuff like that. And it was a living nightmare. Okay? Living nightmare, because I accepted that this is normal. And then I also accepted, oh, this is normal female behavior. You just got to train them. You just got to do this. You just got to do that. And one thing that I learned too was I ran this Black entrepreneurial group. You know what I mean? And when I ran this Black entrepreneurial group, there would be people who were mid, like low, and high interest. So there would be people who were in the group and they wouldn't go to my meetings, bro. Like, they wouldn't go to my meetings. Like, they're part of the group and they're showing up late and they're doing all this kind of jazz. Like, they're showing up late, they're not going to my meetings and everything. And I'm getting frustrated, and I keep on talking to these people. I keep on trying to, this is what the red pill says. You have to put her in her place. You know what I mean? And so subconsciously, that's kind of what I did with my Black entrepreneurial group. I'm just like, why are these people acting up? Why are these people doing this? Why are these people doing that? But there was this one dude in my Black entrepreneurial group who would go to my meetings every single day and who would love going to my meetings and would want the knowledge in my meetings, because I would set up meetings with other Black entrepreneurs who had successful businesses, and they would come up to my group and they would, talk about and give knowledge to the younger generation and everything like that. And one thing I learned from that was that you don't need to put people in their place. You don't need to do that. What you do need to do is find the person who has enough character, who has enough respect to mess with you. You know what I mean? And that's what I was doing before. Like, I just wanted to find a good girl who respected me and everything like that, and who was cool. Instead of, you know what, all women are like this and you have to put them in their place and then they'll respect you. No, you just find a girl who respects you. You just find a girl who respects you. You look at her character. You look at what they're about. You know what I mean? You don't just go ahead and buy a car and be like, yo, you know what? I'm going to buy this car and then I'm just going to fix it up. No, if you have some self-respect, you're going to be like, I want to find a car that is reliable. I want to find a car that is going to do the job. And I want a car that's going to be good for me. So I think when I say that it destroyed a lot of my relationships, it kind of made me get into relationships and lower my standards for people who weren't good people, because I was told that I need to put them in their place. And this is typical female behavior. Women, of course, women are going to lie to you. They just lie. Of course, women are going to do this. That's just female nature. And one thing about female nature, I don't like the female nature argument because it takes away accountability from women. You know what I mean? Just imagine if I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to lie to my girl. I'm going to cheat on my girl. I'm going to do all this. That's just what men do. Men are dogs. We're all dogs, bro. We should all cheat because that's what we do. That's our name. Like, no.
Mm-hmm.
You got to hold these women accountable. And you got to, and I've always had that mindset ever since I was a child, to be with quality women until being in the red pill. And because they kept on saying that's what a woman's nature is, that they're all trash. They're all, you know what I mean? So I thought, well, if they're all trash, well, I guess I got to settle for somebody who I vibe with, but they're all still trash anyway. So I just got to accept it, you know?
Yeah, one of my guests, because we're going to wrap this up soon, so I do want to go into the questions they have. She said, what does she think of the term simp?
Man, so the term simp, I think there is a little bit of a credence to simp, but I think people really overuse it hardcore. You know what I mean? I think that there are guys who do kind of overvalue women, but I think it is taken. It is just been blown out of proportion. All right. If you do this to an extreme measure, okay, I think that's a problem. And I think there are simps in real life, but saying that I love you to your girl is not you being a simp. You know what I mean? Saying that, liking your girl's picture on Instagram isn't being a simp. Liking your girl's picture just in general isn't being a simp. So I think there's a balance to it, just in general. And a simp is just somebody who just overvalues a woman and buys her a car when she has a boyfriend. Like, that's a simp, okay? If you buy a girl a car and she's in a relationship just to get her out, like, that's a simp. You know what I mean? So I think you can be a simp, but I think there's levels to it.
Okay, somebody else asked, have you noticed at all of the red pill content creators are all angry middle-aged men? Well, they're definitely over age of 35, I would say that.
Yeah, definitely. I have noticed that. And I've also noticed that there's this kind of like saying that women like older men, I guess. And I think that might be a cope. I'm not older yet, but do you think that it might be a cope when they say that women like older men and that, when you're 40, you're going to get all the women and all that? Or do you think, I think that might be a cope.
No, it is. So it's actually a subscriber of mine has informed me that that talking point originated from Rollo Tomasi, which is quite odd because he's over 50 and married to a woman older than him who's also in her 50s. So it's really, it's a talking point that emerged a little later on and it just kind of caught on. But no, it's definitely a code because in my opinion, it really just tells their younger subscribers that, okay, you're not doing well with women right now, but as you get older, it'll get better. And not only that, you'll be able to get to women around the same age that you were when you were struggling. Because, I mean, realistically, I'm not saying that an older guy can't get with a younger woman, but to argue that it's commonplace and it gets easier as you get older, that's just asinine. Yeah,
definitely. I feel that.
Yeah, okay. This might be a personal question. I don't know. People, is his girlfriend black? I don't. That's kind of personal, but if you want to answer.
Yeah. So I would say all the girls who I've dated were black. Besides the girl I dated in high school, she was Latino, but all the girls that I dated were black. Yeah.
So, somebody else asked, "What is your take on Kevin Samuels, O'Shea Jackson, and Donovan Sharp?" We already talked about Donovan Sharp, but I don't. Do you watch O'Shea and Samuels?
Yeah, I do watch Kevin Samuels. Um, I could talk a little bit. I watched a little bit of O'Shea, but I could talk a lot about Kevin Samuels just in general. With Kevin Samuels, I think I'm mixed on Kevin Samuels. I'm mixed on Kevin Samuels. I think a lot of what he says is kind of asinine, just in general. The reason why is because I believe that everybody sees different things as high value, just in general. I think, for example, um, you could be with somebody who is a millionaire who you don't respect. You know what I mean? There are people who are sugar daddies. Women who are with sugar daddies, those women do not respect sugar daddies. They're just with them because of his money. But Kevin Samuels, I'm kind of mixed on him. O'Shea Jackson, I don't really know that much about him as much. In Donovan Sharp, I kind of talked a little bit more about Donovan Sharp in the past. Yeah. But also, last thing about Kevin Samuels is that I don't really think his approach is effective. I think a really good alternative to Kevin Samuels would be Stefan Labossiere. I don't know if anybody knows about that dude, but he's also a black dating coach or whatever. I think he does a great calling and insulting your viewers and insulting the people who are your clients. You got to understand that people are human and people have emotions, and you can't just think about the truth, but you also have to think about the outcomes of how you're going to say something. If you call somebody, if my dating coach, if I had a dating coach, called me the N-word as a white man, do you think I'm gonna take his advice? Maybe he might be saying some truth, but do you think I'm gonna take his advice? Do you think I'm gonna listen to him? No. Well, at least the average person isn't gonna listen to him. So I think it's very important to respect your viewers as well, and you're gonna have a lot more of a better conversion rate to get people to change, just in general.
And I know you don't listen to O'Shea, so I found the Manosphere through O'Shea Jackson. So he originally came onto YouTube as a way to troll Mad Bus Driver X because he opposes interracial dating, and he still does. He's pretty ideologically consistent on that. He's trying to YouTuber. He kind of follows wherever like the money goes. So, like, I don't know what he sincerely believes in because the celebrity junk, that's just more like a money grab. But you won't see his old videos. He used to do like the Brother Pill podcast where you have like Donovan Sharp and LAR Movement on. I found him initially entertaining, but like Sharp literally would just derail the conversation because he was just a bit, well, not a bit, he was just too misogynistic for me. Yeah, but that's just my view. And I'll talk about O'Shea more when I make a video about the history of the Black Manosphere, because there's a misperception that like he's the founding father, but it's really just a continuation of a pre-existing community that emerged in 2018. And continuity really isn't talked about much when we think about the space.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, So this is actually a good question because it's a question I always ask my guests. So, what are some of the things that he and the Red Pill agree on, if anything? So, I always ask my guests, like, are there any pros or positives to the Red Pill that they agree with?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, your volume is low. Yeah, but I can hear you, but it's a little low.
Let me try to turn it. All right, can you hear me better?
Somewhat, but it's still low, but I can still hear you.
All right, I'll try to get a little bit closer. So yeah, some of the things that I agree on with the Red Pill is they taught me to be a little bit more direct, just in general. So, instead of kind of messing around and asking all these questions, I'd be a little bit more straightforward and say, have a little bit of a conversation and then just ask, hey, you want to go out and you want to do this, you want to do that. I don't really entertain, as I got older, I didn't really entertain women as much and play all these games. And I think that's really effective, especially, again, the thing that kind of got me into it was girls playing games. You know what I mean? So, if you're a little bit more blunt, a little bit straightforward and being like, listen, I want to go out on a date with you and I really want to get to know you. I think that's a lot more effective than just trying to be a girl's friend, or trying to do this, or trying to be a girl's best friend, or do that kind of jazz. You know what I mean? So I think having that straightforward approach and being a little bit more straightforward is a lot easier, and it saves you a lot more time. So I think that's one thing that can help me, and it helps you not get played. It helps you not get played, because this girl is either gonna be like, "Oh, I have a boyfriend," or not. So I think it's important to be straightforward, get straight to the point, straight to the date, and just be straight up about how you feel without being a freaking weirdo. So
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna ask the last question because hour 15 minutes. I try not to go over an hour and 30 minutes. I try to keep it around an hour. So yeah, my last question, as I ask to all my guests, do you have any final words?
yeah, I think my final word is something that I try to address just in life in general. You know what I mean? This isn't even a red pill thing. It's more just my life philosophy and what I believe. All right. I would want to say to everybody to never wear another man's jersey, and to wear your own jersey. And it is important to be your own individual and have individualistic thought just in general. I do not want to lead you to another ideology. I'm not trying to lead you to feminism. I'm not trying to lead you to conservatism. I'm not trying to lead you to anything. All right. I think that's some level 1 stuff. All right. You want to be level 100. And I think some level 100 energy is being an individual and having individualistic thought and being able to discern things despite what your main ideology or your main beliefs tell you that you need to believe.
Okay, it's like your voice came back to normal at the last minute. Okay, but other than that, that's really all the questions I have. I really want to thank everybody for showing up. And as I've said before, I'm actually going to take a short break from doing these kind of interviews to focus more on pre-recorded content. But I'll pick it back up either in late March or early April, because I still have other people sending me requests that they want to be interviewed. But yeah, other than that, I have to say I sincerely appreciate this. Was actually quite informative, actually. Informative and really insightful.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. As long as we could spread the message, and especially with the promiscuity thing, like I think that's what's really messing up a lot of men. But yeah, if we could really spread the message, I really like what you're doing, and I think you're really gonna be the start. I'm kind of making red pill videos too, but I think you could really be the start of something huge. You know what I mean? Because especially the youth, I'll tell you this, especially the youth, their culture, the youth culture is counterculture. the youth culture is counterculture. So if the red pill is the culture, I'm telling you, when it comes to teenagers, they love to rebel from the current huge culture that's going on. So when the red pill community gets big, I truly believe the next generation is going to be like, you know what? I want to rebel. So let's do this red pills, though. Let's see what's going on here.
Okay, I mean, well, every generation rebels against the other generation, but what I always tell people is that I'm not doing anything new, and I'm not the first person to criticize this community. In fact, particularly when it comes to the Black sector, Black women have been speaking out against it for over a decade, but they have not received much attention. And I have to say that because sometimes when I think historically, there's always this tendency to overlook the contribution of Black women and just like put Black men at the helm. And this happens in history all the time. And I just don't want to repeat something like that and kind of put forth that narrative that if I'm like the first person to do something like this.
Yeah, that's true. But either way, we could really be a part of a movement to really wake people up because, again, this ideology could be very destructive to a lot of different men. And I want people to be healthy. I don't want them to be in a situation where they have to do that. So yeah, again, really informative. Keep on making videos, you know what I mean? Keep on spreading the message, and hopefully we could wake some people up. Because even on Reddit, I'll just say this, even on Reddit, if you look on the Reddit for X Red Pill, it's almost just as big as the Red Pill Reddit, which is kind of weird. So, it's cool, and we could continue to do what we need to do.
Hmm. Well, other than that, everybody, I would say have a good day and happy daylight savings. Hopefully, you got enough sleep. Until then, farewell.
All right. See you guys.